bag and fumble it. You get the bag and fumble it.
You get the bag and fumble it, I get the bag and flip it and tumble it. Straight off the lot, 300 cash, and the car came with a blunt in it. The mama a thot, and she got
Alright, so just getting my newbie ready. You guys been following me. I do almost all my cardio sessions with the newbie on. I kind of go through varying frequencies. So the 500 frequency, which we use for therapy, opens tissue up, relaxes it, and releases it. So majority of my cardio is through that. It's going to elicit a much greater muscle fiber recruitment as well, which is going to burn more calories. But on top of that, it's like stretching for my legs. So it just opens everything up. And then some cardio sessions that I really want to crank up, I'll drop it down to 100 frequency, which elicits an even deeper muscle fiber recruitment. So like when I'm trying to get, like this morning, I'll try to get my glutes in a little more. So I'm going to put 2 black pads. So normally when I do regular legs, I'll do like a black one here, a red one here, a black one up here, top or glute, and a red one down at the bottom of the hamstring. So right now I'm going to put a black one on the outer part of the glute, a black one on the inner part of the glute, a red one at the bottom of the hamstring, and a red one in the middle of the quad. And I'm going to do some cardio at 100. I still got to bring my glutes in a little tighter. So instead of running around and doing glute kickbacks and all this other stuff, all this accessory work that takes a lot of time, I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and I'm getting my glute work while I'm doing my cardio. So as for cardio wise, I've been doing no more than like 30-minute sessions this whole prep with the machine, and it's working. You know, my legs feel great, they look full. I'm in pretty good shape, as you guys will see. We'll go upstairs in a little bit. This morning's a little kind of thrown off. So typically I either have to get up super early and go to the other gym, Coast Fitness, and do my cardio and stuff there, and then get here and train my 5 a.m. client. I got a client every single day at 5 a.m. Or I wait till after him. Seeing as I'm kind of pressed for time later in the day, I got to kind of get everything done at a reasonable hour because I have a haircut appointment at 8:30. So I'm going to start my cardio now. I'll train him. And then usually every day I do a quick upper body pump and I go upstairs in the posing room and pose. So instead of doing the cardio and the pump and the posing all together, I got to break it up into 2 sections. So I'm going to do my cardio now, stretch for a little bit, train my client, do my upper body pump, go up in the posing room, do some rounds, take a look to see how I look, and see what I'm going to eat for the rest of the day. So that's kind of the plan for the morning so far. So yeah, I mean, again, I literally live on this machine. You know, I train with it every single day. I do all my cardio with it every day, and we'll get more into detail about how this prep's been kind of unique and fun all at the same time. And so yeah, I'm gonna get this hooked up and go to the bathroom, put them on my ass so I don't have a fat ass on stage, and get some cardio in. So this is my process of how I hook up all my clients for leg day. So you ever see 2 people, another person being walking into a bathroom? We're not doing anything weird. We're just hooking up the cords. Because it's easy with this hinge here to hang the cords up so they get out of the way. And my posing trunks on. Don't worry. There, match one across my quad, the red one hamstring, and one go in on the butt there. Make sure they're kind of even. Good. Then I just slide them up. So I make all my clients buy spandex. I can do it without it. I just have this stretchy athletic tape, but the stretchy athletic tape ends up costing a lot of money over time, and B, it just, especially when you have big round legs like me and some of the other bodybuilders, that tend to roll down so they don't stick as good. So just a decent pair of spandex, we're good to go. 4 pads on the butt. It vibrates like crazy. It feels so weird. All right, so I'm gonna start off the first 5 minutes at the 500 frequency, which is our lengthening signal. That's just gonna really loosen my legs up good. And then I'll crank it to the 100. I'll do 20 minutes that way. And then the last 5 minutes, I'll go to 500. And that's gonna really contract my glutes, get a great glute workout, plus open up my legs a little bit so they're nice and loose. Stretch for a few minutes before my 5 o'clock shows up. So I crank it up to a point that it's saucy, it's tolerable, but you definitely feel it. And then start walking.
She got ass, and she gon' fuck up her bag. Pull up to the spot, live it too fast. Jumping in the stash. You get the bag and formula. 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 I get the bag and flip it and tumble it. Straight off the lot, 300 cash, and the car came with a blood in it. The mama a thot, and she got ass, and she gon' fuck up her bag. Pull up to the spot, live it too fast, jumping in the stash. You get the bag and formula. I get the bag and flip it and tumble it. Straight off the lot, 300 cash, and the car came with a blood in it.
So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about this prep and how it's been so different from every other prep I've ever done. I plan on taking the whole year off. In December last year, when I stepped off stage in Romania, I had a long year. I had 7 shows. It was stressful on me, on Steph. I had my bicep injury. So I promised her I was gonna take the year off. Promised myself I was gonna take the year off. So I started doing the whole keto experiment and fasting every day. Doing like bare minimum 16 hours, but mostly every day for 9 months was 18 to 20 hours a day. And then just eating like 2 really big meals at night. Keto, like super high fat, really low protein, and just trace carbs. And Steph had some issues. She had some cysts and some tumors removed from her ovaries and stuff. So we decided to get everything checked out from a fertility standpoint. So came off all the chems and did a PCT and got everything tested to see if we were both fertile. Everything came out great. And I was maintaining good size. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep rolling with this. Just a true cruise, 140 milligrams test a week. And training with a newbie every day, my body held up really well. I went home in August to go visit my family and took a photo. I was like 239, something like that. And I compared it to a photo of me a couple days after I competed in Romania when we went to Mexico for vacation. And I was just as big, just as lean. And that was being off everything all year. So I started kind of getting the itch, and I saw some shows later in the year that were really interesting. There was one 5 weeks ago in Korea that I really wanted to do. Unfortunately, it fell on the same weekend as my cousin who got married out in Connecticut, so I couldn't do that. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna do something. I need to challenge myself. I wanted to try to do a prep on keto, the whole growth phase and dieting and everything. So at 14 weeks out from Japan, I decided to jump in. And I went from, like I said, being off everything, not eating much food at all, training just because I love training. And I spent the first 7 weeks putting on size. I went from about 238, I'm like 235, I think, blew up to 270 on keto, on fats. Everybody says you can't grow on fats. Well, I grew on fats. And then the last 7 weeks was diet. And about a week ago, I was like, I'm gonna be a little behind. It's not gonna be my greatest conditioning look. I mean, I still look hard as nails. My glutes are usually always super, super shredded. But I knew that I'm gonna look good enough. Like, I'm gonna look better than most everybody out there, conditioning wise. But this whole prep has been eating 3 meals a day compared to your normal 6 that most bodybuilders eat. Doing carb ups only every 2 weeks or so. Following the keto diet. But more than just keto, it was like my food choices, like still eating pork cracklings, which are the really thick, fatty cuts of pork, deep fried, pork, tons of pork rinds. I was living off these egg bite things from this company called 3 Bridges. They're whole eggs, bacon, and cheese. And 4 of them are 50 grams of fat and 40 grams of protein. And I'd have that with like some nuts. Eating bacon and cheese on all my food, even if it was steak. I'd buy blue cheese or gorgonzola, crumble it up on there with some butter. And again, like 5 bags of pork rinds a day. Tons of nuts, nut butters. I love my diet. This has been a prep where I've only had 1 burger. Like one, I mean, I've gone out and me and Stefan out to eat a bunch at the beginning, or like mostly through prep. Would go out and I'd get a bunless burger and some fried chicken wings. And, that's what I was eating. And it fit my diet. So this whole prep, I didn't feel like I was neglecting myself of anything. This last week, I cut out cheese. But outside of that, I've loved every bit of food that I've eaten and haven't really suffered. This is probably my proudest accomplishment. I still got a couple more days of work to do of my bodybuilding career. I took over my own prep last June. I was working with Matt Jensen forever. Love Matt. Nothing to do with him. At that point, I actually wanted to stop my personal training business and focus more on my online prep. So I figured if I was going to do that, I needed to be the face of my own company. I needed to prep myself to prove that I know what I'm doing. And but at that point, I did 3 shows after leaving Matt, but I was already in contest shape. So once you're already in shape, it's kind of hard to fuck it up. But I continually got better at every one of the shows I did, even after Romania, where I ruptured my bicep and then got myself ready 14 weeks later. But again, I came from a point that I was already in great shape. I just didn't let it go. So to go from coming off everything for an entire year and doing just a 14-week prep and doing it completely outside of the box. Completely outside of the box. Like, people cannot believe that I was eating only 150 to 180 grams of protein a day, weighing in at 250, 260, and eating the food sources I have. And I'm on track to potentially look my best ever. Like I said, normally my glutes are inside out. They're gonna be hard and they're gonna be very respectable. But I have a fullness look to me, a roundness that I've never had. And I attribute a lot of that, obviously, to the newbie. Actually, all of it. So this was gonna be my retirement run. I had planned on doing Japan, hopefully getting a good placing, and begging the Arnold committee to accept me, doing the Arnold Australia, and then retiring from bodybuilding, at least for a while. I've got a lot of business ventures coming up, some really big things I'm really excited about, but my whole world's gonna be different once these things go. I'm now entering the health, wellness, and performance spectrum instead of the bodybuilding world. So to be the face of those brands, I kind of wanted to lose some muscle. come down a little bit, look a little more mainstream. I mean, I still look athletic for a big guy, I move athletic. But yeah, so this is going to be my retirement run, but I'll be the first to admit, keto is not the best way to prep for a show. It's not the best way to build tissue. 100% without a doubt, having glucose, glycogen, carbs is going to facilitate muscle growth much easier. But I proved that it can be done. So now I've got this itch, seeing what I've done with the newbie these past 14 weeks, to try it with carbs and do an entire off season and grow. But it kind of goes against what my plans were going into this, so kind of stuck in this weird place. So another thing I did differently this year is, again, I wanted to be an athlete. I miss being an athlete. For those of you who don't know, I was a Division I college football player. I've always been extremely athletic. As an actual football player, my skills are decent, but like 40-yard dash, lateral agility, vertical jump, all that stuff through the roof. So one of the things I focused on this year was, for a good part of the year, twice a week I was doing agility conditioning work, doing ladder drills and 3-cone drills, broad jumps, box jumps, all that kind of stuff. And when I started this prep, I was like, you know what? I want to stick to this, because every year I start doing this stuff and I start a prep and I get afraid to get hurt. So I stopped doing it. So I dedicated every Wednesday afternoon to doing the agility work. And I did it all the way up to last week, a week and a half out. And last week, I've been dragging along I trained this 16-year-old hockey sensation. So I've been dragging him with me just to kind of keep me motivated and push me. And last week, I felt like absolute shit. Everything hurt. Just getting out of bed that morning was terrible. I trained hamstrings at 5 a.m. with his dad every Wednesday. And then I'd go back at 2 p.m. and do the agility work. My legs were smoked. I could easily back down and just train him, but I was like, you know what? I promised myself I'd do this. And so I put on compression socks, a pair of really tight compression pants, really tight compression shorts. Fucking sucked everything in there as hard as I could. And I had one of my best sessions. I was as quick as I've ever been. I'll send some video over to Maya so she can dub it in and show you guys what I've been doing. And that's another one of my proudest accomplishments is there I am, 245, 250, and I'm flying around. Every time I post one of these videos, people are like, you try with the NFL. So getting back to what I love and doing that kind of stuff, showing that you can be an athlete, you can be a bodybuilder. I've been working my ass off. The newbie has me so busy. Like I said, my days start at 5 a.m. Usually I train a few clients in the morning. Some days I get a chance to run home for an hour, come back, train a couple clients, train myself, and then work until about 6 p.m. every night. I'm working 6-7 days a week. I'm making great money. Most bodybuilders don't do that. Obviously there's a lot of guys out there with full-time jobs, but the serious hardcore pros that I compete against for the most part live off sponsorships or just online coaching, and they're home while they rested. I'm in here working all the time. On top of that, I'm setting up a couple businesses. As I mentioned, I'm trying to get this performance gym going. I'm opening hormone and wellness clinics with my investors and another friend on the East Coast. So most guys don't travel close to shows. 5 weeks ago, my investors got married way out in the middle of the nowhere desert. It was like 3.5-hour ride out, 3.5-hour drive back. So I had that. The following weekend, I did a 30-hour trip to Connecticut to fly home for my cousin's wedding. The weekend after that, I did a 23-hour trip to Florida for a business meeting. The weekend after that, I filmed a commercial all day, and this is last weekend, and had a friend of mine, Nick Lepore, who used to be an athlete with me at University of Nutrition. He's now a burger connoisseur, so he wanted to come out to LA and tried a bunch of burger places and get a workout with me. I hate people being at my house. I had him stay over, spend 3 days with me. So really just opening up and doing things that I normally wouldn't do or wouldn't try close to a show because I'm so worried about the show, the prep. My time, my prep has taken second fiddle this whole show. Like I said, some days I got to get up and do cardio at 3 a.m. Some days I do it now at 4 a.m. Some days I do it after my 6:30. There's times where it's just more convenient for me to hop in and train with my 5 a.m. or train with another client later in the day. So I've been really flexible with a lot of things this prep. And to see my body where it is right now is kind of surprising and kind of cool. So without a doubt, this has been, so far, as long as I don't fuck it up these next 4 days, my best prep, my proudest prep ever as an athlete. Like I said, to do everything on my own. And so the diet, I literally have not weighed a single thing all year. Have not touched a scale. I eyeball everything I eat. I have an idea of, a whole bag of pork rinds is 36 grams of fat. A whole egg's this. I know an idea of what 3 or 4 ounces of chicken or beef is. And I've just been eyeballing everything. I haven't followed a diet plan. Like last year when I prepped myself, those last shows, I set out a diet and I followed to a T. And then I'd weigh myself in a couple days, take pictures, and change as needed. This time, every morning, I wake up, use the restroom, weigh myself, look at myself in the mirror, know what I'm training that day and how much my output's gonna be, and then just eat intuitively. So it's been, again, like I said, no bodybuilder does that on this level. So it's been unique, and hopefully I open my eyes to a lot of other people. I'm not saying it's the best route, but I did it and it worked, and it's worked so far. So definitely my proudest accomplishment as an athlete so far, and to be able to balance everything I have been. Almost every week's been something: business meetings, conference calls, this, that. Mentally draining, like literally not sleeping at night. Well, because by the time I'm getting home from the gym at 7 p.m., I unpack, I repack, I shower, get dressed, eat my last meal. It's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm waking up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning every day. So sleep's been kind of shitty. Luckily, lately there's been a lot of days that I can sneak home and sneak in a 30-minute nap before I have to come back to keep me going. But it's been a fun ride, and just so many good things happening in life right now for me, and I'm trying not to get overly excited. I'm always one of those people where until things actually happen, don't really count on them, because I've booked friggin' what were supposed to be huge commercials and shit, filmed them, I've spent that money, and then all of a sudden just find out a month later you get a letter in the mail saying you got cut out of the commercial, or they're not airing the commercial or something. So I've learned to let things happen, to be enthusiastic about opportunities, but don't get overly excited, and just keep your head down and keep working. So like I said, I've got, if half the shit falls through that is lined up right now, I'm gonna be set for a long time. So I'm excited. Like I said, last year at this point, I fucking hated my life. I was just training people every day. I didn't have the newbie, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm just a personal trainer. I'm 35 years old. I got a master's degree, and all I'm doing is just slaving away in here for $100 an hour. And so it's funny how when I ruptured my bicep last August, the day that happened, Joe, the owner of AD, my supplement sponsor, good friend, I've been with AD for almost 5 years now. He was actually at the gym when I ruptured my bicep, and he was flipping out at me. He's like, you just ruined your career. And I looked at him, I said, Joe, this is the best thing that ever happened to me, watch. Sure enough, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. The machine came into my life. My business is blown up. I'm working with high-end athletes. It's just so many doors have opened for me, and a lot of it has to do with that moment. I said, fuck this, I'm turning my mentality around. I was always a negative Nancy. My family's like that, everything's just, they're just blue-collar workers. Nothing exciting ever happens. So you just kind of get pessimistic about everything. And after I hurt myself, I said, only positive thoughts. And I can only think of a few times over the past few months that I've had negative feelings kind of take over my day. And sure enough, when that happened, things just steamrolled and bad things happened throughout the day. And I know specifically, I was just like, stop, positive, be positive. And then boom, things turned right around. So just changing your mindset and being more positive and thinking about the good in life. Even when things seem like they're shitty, just look around. I mean, I'm very blessed. Obviously, I want a fucking hell of a lot more out of life. And I'm never going to slow down because that's just who I am. But when you actually get to sit back and look at where your life is and just compare yourselves to things around you and see that there's a lot of people out there that are going through a whole lot of shit. And the things that we fuss about and get upset about are extremely minimalistic. So just keeping a positive attitude. Every day I wake up, I put on some music, get my morning started, and it just kind of uplifts me a little bit. Start out the day on a good foot. So speaking of good foot, I'm gonna change this frequency and finish out these last 5 minutes of cardio. So it's been a trying year, relationship-wise, I'm open to talking about that kind of stuff. Steph took over the dog rescue, and it's an amazing thing she's doing. She has such a huge heart, but what people don't see is the heartache and the time and effort it takes her. It literally has chewed up her entire life. Out of the blue, we have a foster. That dog that gets sick or something, it's her responsibility. So she's got to drive wherever, pick up the dog, take it to the vet, deal with all that stuff. Everything comes out of our pocket. We get donations, but it doesn't cover. And she's got so invested into that she's neglected her own businesses. So she's taken a financial hit this year. And everybody's like, oh, but she's doing such a good thing. She is. But sometimes you got to take care of the household first. And the better off you are in life, the more you can do down the road. So, it created a lot of tension between us because here I am killing myself every day. And a lot of her time was being taken up, having to deal with these dogs because they're animals and things uncontrollably happen. So, like I said, one of the other projects I'm trying to get going is eventually do a doggy daycare. And my parents want to get them to move out here, have them and her run it. And that'll make us a ton of money. Plus, it'll give her space to foster. We've had fosters and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to take off for 5 days. Sorry, can't watch the dog. And it's like, you knew you were going to have the dog for a few weeks. And you do those type of things. So then we're just trying to scramble to 5 more fosters. And we can't really bring the dogs to our house because my German Shepherd, Helen, she's just crazy. And she's okay for a little bit with dogs. But then once they start being in our house for too long, she's like, all right, this is my pack, my house. Get the fuck out. So we've had a few dog fights that I've had to break up at home. And my pit bull gets really stressed. He's such a little pussy. So he knows that Helen's worked up. And this other dog's usually worked up because they just come from a shelter. They're scared, they're trembling. So he gets really weird acting. And so it's just not fair for our family and our house to keep bringing these fosters into the house. So it's been really hard for her to be able to do her job. Well, not job, but to do what she loves to do because of the whole fostering situation and stuff like that. So, and I know that she does a lot of this because she's looking for a little bit of love. And with me working so much, I haven't been there to be the spouse and the husband that I need to be all the time. And her working from home for the past 1.5 to 2 years now has kind of segregated her from society. So literally all she has is dogs in her life. So it's really kind of swallowed her entire existence being around animals. So for her to find a new dog a home and give it a new life is such a great feeling for her. It kind of gives her purpose. It makes her feel like she's needed in the world. So I get it, and I love that. But it's just, with anything, it's trying to find balance. Same thing with the bodybuilding prep. It's, you can be one of those bodybuilders where the only fucking thing that matters is prep, and you neglect everybody and everything else. Or you can try to find a balance, and for her, it's just been hard to try to find that balance. And so it's been probably her hardest year. Last year was my hardest year. So, relationships are tough, and you just got to try to support each other. And, I never want to be that husband that says, no, you can't do this. Because what makes relationships so special and great are being supportive of one another's passions. So she knows that it frustrates me. Like, literally, out of the blue, she'll find a stray, and that will chew up 10 hours of her day. And she has things that she's supposed to get done, and all of a sudden, I don't hear from her, and then I see on an Insta story or something, because she's afraid to tell me. She's afraid to tell me these things, gonna get mad. If anything, I get mad that she doesn't tell me those things. Even though I don't like it that she's spending all this time there, I'd rather know what's going on. So I find out from Insta story, people are like, oh, how's that dog that you guys found? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So for those of you that always ask me questions about the Fosters, I have no idea. I just help pay the bills, and I support her and let her do her thing. She's trying to find that balance of being a good human being and trying to do the best for these animals, but also realizing that she has her own life and our own animals and stuff to take care of. So it's a really tough world. A lot of people that we've talked to that have owned rescues and run rescues, they've been divorced. They're broke because, especially a place like Southern California, there's just so many dogs that are just left and abandoned. The work never ends. There's a lot that needs to change from a legislative standpoint. Breeding, that's the thing. Like, you have these people that go to these shelters and they'll try to find dogs that aren't neutered and spayed just so they can breed them. And it's just like, why? Like, we have so many dogs in shelters. Why are you fucking breeding animals? Unless you're like some super high-end bloodline, there's no fucking reason why you should be breeding your dog. I'm sorry, just to make a couple $100. There's just too many animals in the world that need a good home. Spay and neuter your cats and dogs and make a difference from that perspective. Luckily, the federal government just passed a law that it's now a federal crime to abuse your animals. But like I said, where we live, it's just really hard. We're kind of in what I like to call an up-and-coming neighborhood. So everybody's got pit bulls and German shepherds and Rottweilers and all these protective dogs, and their fences are all busted down and beat in, and dogs are running away left and right, and people are abusing their animals. And again, they're just backyard breeding to make a couple $100 and just making the situation even worse. So the reason why you guys are seeing more dogs and shit in her life is because of where we moved to. So it is one of the downsides of where we are, but people just suck in general. There's some animals we've come across that are just completely neglected and abused for so long. Supremely overbred so much that they've gotten cancer on their mammary, everything. So it's people just fucking suck, and these animals don't deserve that. So next time you think, as Christmas is coming around the corner, I want a puppy, remember, puppies grow up, they turn out to be full-size dogs, and they're a lot of work. So don't just get a puppy because they're cute. And don't do it unless you're completely responsible. So, speaking of, look at that. That's my wife right there. Chasing down a dog on the highway. That's something you do. It's nice to know that there are other good people in the world, but my wife is literally stopped in the middle of the highway and dodged cars to try to save dogs. And I'll do that. Like, if I see a dog's in danger running through the streets, I'll pull over. I'm not a heartless SOB. Like, another reason why we don't foster is because I like dogs too much. Like, we had Helen, our German Shepherd, was supposed to be, I found her as a stray. She was all messed up. And we were just gonna rehab her and rehome her. I fell in love. She's with us. She's the bane of my existence. I love that dog to death. She is psycho, and she sheds like a motherfucker. And I hate dog hair, but I love her so much, so I kept her. And then we found this other Doberman. I'm a huge Doberman lover. And we were fostering her for a while. She got along pretty well with my German because she was really young and had already had a litter, and you could tell she had this super sense of innocence to her. So my German Shepherd dealt with her. And then she all of a sudden became the beta of our pack. She started following around the German Shepherd and because Helen's the alpha, and she started becoming the beta. So much so that she would try to check Helen sometimes, and she was little for a Doberman because she had a litter so early that it stunted her growth. And we had her for 6 weeks. My parents wanted her. We were trying to figure out how to get her out there. And I just told Steph, I'm like, it's now or never, because if she's here for like 2 more weeks, I'm not going to want to get rid of her. You know, so that's another reason why I don't foster, is because I can't let go. So, yeah, that's prep life, business life, personal life, kind of all wrapped in one. We're going on, I think like this week or next week was when we first met 8 years ago in here. Started dating early December, so we're going on our 8th year anniversary of being together. This December is our 5-year anniversary of being married. Being married to someone and living with someone for 5 years. No, we lived together for 7 years, over like 7.5. So the honeymoon phase is out the window. You know, we love each other. We support one another. It's never perfect. We want to kill each other most of the time. But at the end of the day, there's no one I want to grow old with. That woman will drag my ass out of bed, clean up my shitty bloody sheets when I'm old and decrepit or dealing with whatever disease, and will always be there by my side. And she's not materialistic. She's not selfish. She's overly selfless. So no matter how frustrated I might get with her and how frustrated she might get with me, I know I'm never going to find a better person to spend the rest of my life with. So you make things work. You know, it's just like anything in life. You want it to work. You want something out of life. You put effort into it. And that's one thing that she promised me. She would back off a little on the dog stuff, and I promised her I would be more present and try to have more fun in our marriage. So I'm looking forward to get this show prep over with so we can spend a little more time together, do some more stuff. And that was the beauty about doing the whole keto stuff this year too, is go out to dinner 3-4 nights a week. And I didn't feel like I was cheating because I could have a burger with avocado and a whole leg on it and bacon, and it was still fitting within what I was eating for my diet. So it definitely made being social and spending time with her a lot better. So yeah, you know, that's life. Too many people get into relationships and stuff for all the wrong reasons. And you know, I say it over and over again. When I met Steph, I fell for her because of how hard she trained in here. Literally. I thought she was cute, but not like, oh my God, she's a smoke show, I gotta be with her. She was sexy because she worked like an animal when I saw her here. And we started talking, and I fell in love with her personality and her as a person. So I fell in love with who she is, not from a cosmetic, external standpoint. Not saying my wife's not beautiful, because she is. She's absolutely stunning. But I fell in love with her for all the right reasons. And it's all those reasons that keep us together and keep us going. So now I just gotta have babies. That's another thing on the agenda. The reason why I wanted to retire, because I want to have kids next year, or at least try to get pregnant, and I want to be a daddy. So yeah, that's my love life and marital life on some cardio talk. So we're at 40 minutes. It's good for the day. I'm going to, at 5 a.m. we'll be here, so walk out front and go grab him. Two of my favorite things in the world: pecan pie, carrot cake.